Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, my name's Morgan, and I love talking all things reality TV, and today we're talking about a show that I loved when it was airing, and honestly, haven't looked back on since, and that is The Prophet. If you were not lucky enough to have seen this masterpiece, I'll tell you a little bit about it. The show centers around entrepreneur Marcus Lemonis as he goes to these different businesses that need his help, and he offers them an investment and his expertise in different areas, helping them tweak different things in exchange for some percentage of their business. There's other little caveats and things that happen in different episodes, but that's the main gist. The show started in 2013 and ended in 2021. It had a total of 8 seasons, which surprised me. I think I probably stopped watching it before it actually ended because I did not know it went on that long. And like I said, I have not revisited this show at all. Like, I watched it when it aired and that was it. I think about it every now and then because it's something that people bring up that is similar to Shark Tank, similar to Kitchen Nightmares, similar to Bar Rescue. It has that exact same sort of feel. And the other day I was like, you know what would do my heart good? Making a reaction video to a random episode of The Prophet, digging back into that show that warmed my heart 10 years ago or so. And I'm bringing y'all on that journey today. Now to pick the random episode. In the past, when I've done these rewatch type videos, I pick a random one, but I pick it. I look through, I'll read, either read the description or see the thumbnail, and that's how I'll decide. Today, I thought it'd be a lot more fun just to use a random number generator. To start out with the season, though, I'm not going to generate 1 through 8 because I really hope I'm going to rewatch and remember the episodes somewhat. So I'm going to stick to seasons 1 through 5 because I think 5 is about when I stopped watching based on the years. Time to generate the number. Oh shit, I did 1 through 8. I'm so dumb. Now it's time to generate the number. 3, smack dab in the middle. Let's go. It appears there are 22 episodes in season 3, but the 22nd episode is like a looking back type episode, I think. So we're going to do 1 through 21 instead. Let's do it. 16, sweet 16. So today we will be watching The Prophet Season 3, Episode 16. Right off the bat, the name is super familiar to me. I think I probably do remember this one. I think once the episode starts, my memory will be jogged. To start us off every episode, they tell us a little bit about the business and what's going on. I will be doing that for all of us because there's only so much of this that I'm sure YouTube will allow me to actually show you. Our owner of the business is Mike. He's a Navy vet, and in 2012, he started making custom longboards, and the whole theme is kind of around the armed forces. The name of the brand is Kota, which is an acronym for Knights of the Air. The longboards started getting national attention. People really liked the finish and how well made they are, but Marcus tells us that due to the limited selection of longboards and the super high price point, there was a cap on their sales. And because of the lack of sales, Mike is starting to lose money, and that is where Marcus comes in. We then get into a part that is near and dear to my heart, but I had completely forgotten, which is Marcus telling us why he'd be interested in investing in this sort of business. And his main reasoning is talking about how longboards are great because of the bigger wheels and the longer deck. They can be used for commuting, and this is something that can be sold to the masses. I just love that he has to give his explanation, just like, if he's on Shark Tank. This is why I think this is a great business. So good. I feel like it'd almost be a crime to not mention that they're in Denver, Colorado, and this feels very on brand for Denver. I could be wrong. This might be a stereotype, but that was my first thought off the bat.
Marcus, Mike Maloney, nice to meet you.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Honor.
You guys all longboard?
We all do.
A lot of people working here.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest contrasts to this show and Bar Rescue is how just happy-go-lucky Marcus usually is in the beginning. Just okay, we're gonna see this little business. Let's go. Versus John Tafford, who comes in I don't think I can curse this early in the video without it going nowhere. And then Gordon kind of meets them somewhere in the middle. He usually comes in and like at least pretends to be polite, but he's ready to scream at any moment. Marcus, you can tell, is just like, let's go. We're in Denver. Yeah, let's find some stuff out.
What's a typical age of your buyer of your product?
The meat of our market is age 30 to 70.
Really?
I wish I had been recording while I was watching this then, because I made almost the exact same face Marcus did. 70? I mean, I'm not saying there's not any 70-year-olds doing longboards, but like, what? Okay, who is your main market? It can't be. That's not true. Like, come on. Like, it's one thing to say it's for everybody, but at the end of the day, there's a demographic you hit the most in. What is hit? So Marcus comes out ready to start questioning some things. He always does. He's always ready to dig in. And his first questions are about if they come in any different sizes. He says, no, this is just the one size, the one board they make. And Marcus talks about how a lot of the demographic for skateboarding in general is children and that smaller people need smaller length boards. And Mike, our owner, says he doesn't want to be in direct competition with skateboards. He doesn't feel like they'll do well with that, and that's why they've stuck to their just one thing. I also want to point out that in the beginning, we already talked about how the limited options was a problem. I already fear Mike doesn't know what the issue is, and he's going to be one of those people who's like, there's no problem with my business. I'm just losing money. That's why I called you here. I don't know why I'm losing money, but it's not because I'm doing anything wrong.
This is like hand-to-hand combat, kind of the art of war. Go where your enemy isn't.
Basically, what you're telling me is you're going to do the opposite of where the market is. I don't think that sounds like a good idea.
Another great aspect of this show that I'd completely forgotten is Marcus's little interview moments. So funny. It's like Real Housewives meets Shark Tank meets Kitchen Nightmares Bar Rescue. This is why I loved this show. Just so good. We then find out what's so special about their boards is the kind of finish they have that makes it so you don't need the grip tape. And he says nobody else in their industry has anything like it. This is so weird to film because other reaction videos I've done have been to just like random MTV shows and stuff like this. But this almost feels like I'm trying to do one of my Shark Tank videos and a reaction video at the same time. And my brain is like, so confused. I keep wanting to like pull up notes to read and check things, but it's like, I don't know yet. I'm watching this with y'all. I don't know what's gonna happen. Crazy. Anyway, the cost to make them is $116 and they retail for $329, but they're planning to move that to $349 in the next year.
That's reasonable for this product.
He says that is reasonable for anyone 30 to 55. I just want to point out this man has already shrunken down his demographic. So does he just not know it? Does he just want to like sound like he has more customers than he has? Who's to say? I don't know. I just had to point it out. Anyway, we can move on. And Marcus is still very dead set on the fact that he says that the skateboarding demographic is mostly 9 to 15. And that maybe a 50-year-old can spend that money on a board like that, but a 15-year-old certainly can't. He also talks about that while the margins are good on paper, somebody actually has to be willing to pay that price, which, fair. I, for one, have no idea how much skateboards or longboards are, especially how much they were in 2015, so I have no frame of reference. I'd probably sound like, Lucille, in Arrested Development.
I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
So I'm not gonna comment on it. We're just gonna go with Marcus. This isn't Shark Tank. I haven't done any research. We're just gonna be on Marcus's side because why not? It's a TV show. Something I also really like about the Profit versus Shark Tank that you just can't get with Shark Tank because you're going through so many different businesses and you're not going there like Marcus is we get more breakdown even of the actual cost of things. It's not just like it cost $116 to do this and this. Like he asks about rent, he asks about all these different things. I should stop fangirling and we should just watch it, I guess. We're not very far in this episode. While talking about the overhead and how much space they have in the warehouse, we find out that they are not getting their lease renewed and they have to be out by March, which Marcus says is soon. I don't know when this was filmed, so I don't know the time frame. Maybe we'll get it later. Who knows, but it's soon. That's all that really matters. Then we meet Mike's wife, who also works in the business. She says she does everything from contacting customers to helping with board assembly. Pretty much sounds like she does a little bit of everything. We then find out that Mike is the one who does all the different designs for the boards, but he doesn't really want to do that anymore, and Marcus doesn't really understand why because he thinks the designs are really good. Then it's time for Marcus to dive in and see the process of making the boards. You find out, if you watch the show a lot, that Marcus is a really big fan of the 3 Ps. Those are people, product, and process. He says those are the key things you need to make a business work.
Your first ply is a long ply. Okay. What you have is the fibers running the long way, which gives you that longitudinal stiffness.
So this in here for how long?
45 minutes. They come out looking like this.
So this comes out of there?
Correct.
And where does it go from here?
We throw the trunk holes in, and this is our drill press right here.
This piece of metal I'm holding on to is the truck.
We assemble this,
The amount of detail that goes in is unbelievable.
then we sand. This is how they come out.
Okay.
That nice smooth finish.
Well, that's kind of killer.
While Marcus is talking to the employees, he finds out that a lot of people there are actually very new, like within the last year got hired. Obviously, high employee turnover is a very big red flag for Marcus, as it should be for everyone.
Josh joined us recently.
I'm an investor.
You're an investor too?
Sure is.
And you work here full time?
For free.
Seriously?
Seriously.
There's some memories starting. I think I remember watching this episode. I'm speechless. Imagine giving someone money, investing in their business, and then working there for free. Save this man. Save this man. I know this is like 2014, 2015, but God, I hope he's doing better. So the story goes, this man had a restaurant, sold it, ran into Mike, the owner, and he was like, I have this amazing opportunity. And the amazing opportunity was to give him money and then work for him for free. Okay. Now that Marcus has been able to see the way that these boards are made, it's time for him to dig into the financials of the business. This show might have had its issues, just like many shows like it, but I'm going to be very bold and say that 8 minutes into rewatching this old episode, we should bring back the profit. I might change my mind if I watch some of those later seasons, like season 8 and season 7. But bring back this. Bring back this. I'm having so much fun. I'm going to pull a Sharks and a Marcus and write down these financials, because how in God's name else am I going to be able to tell you this stuff? Okay, I'm ready to tell you the numbers. Their sales for their first full year of operation was $48,000. Year 2, they did $150,000. And year 3, which is their current year of operation, they had done $190,000. They've raised $650,000 from investors. Mark invested $500,000 himself, and he also won a grant for new entrepreneurs or new businesses, something of that nature, for $150,000, meaning a total of $1.3 million has been put into this business. At the current moment, they have about $200,000 in the bank, meaning in about 2.5 years, they've burned $1.1 million. Mike tells him that he needs to consider the different infrastructure they've built and all the equipment they've been purchasing.
Okay, but you burn more money than you've generated in revenue.
Oh, absolutely.
Marcus then informs us that it looks like from the numbers that they're going to do about $200,000 to $250,000 in loss this year. We then have a staple of all of these shows where whoever the host is, in this case Marcus, starts to therapize the owners of the business. He starts asking them if this has put a lot of pressure on their marriage, which obviously it has. They talk about that they were lucky that they had savings to live on, but their savings have run out. They've pretty much hit the bottom of all this, which so heartbreaking. Hate this part of the show. Then Mike asks the age-old question, what's the fastest way to make money? And Marcus says, sales. Genius work that we're having here on The Profit. It is then time for the offer meeting. This is where Marcus sits down with them, has the financials in front of them once again, and makes a decision on whether or not he's going to make them an offer and discusses that offer with the entrepreneurs. So first of all, right when they sit down, Marcus is looking down at the numbers and he's like, why did something change? And we find out that Mike actually only put in $20,000. He was making up this number of $500,000 based off of his uncompensated wages. Pretty much he hasn't been paid by the company while he's been working there the whole time. So he's counting that as money put in. Obviously, Marcus doesn't like that he was kind of deceptive about the numbers. He would have much rather him said something like that and just been like, yeah, I put in $20,000 versus I put in $500,000. Like, those aren't even, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Marcus talks about how he's worried the product is kind of niche, but the product is made really well. He also loves all the different employees that he's met while he's been there, and he thinks he can really help to market this to the masses. So he offers them $300,000 for 40%. But that's not all. Marcus is actually going to be splitting up this equity between the 3 key members of their staff, which are Chris, Sandy, and Josh, giving each of them 5%, leaving Marcus with 25%, and he wants to use part of the $300,000, $50,000 of that to be exact, to pay back Josh's $50,000 investment. Mike is uneasy about this offer. He thinks if they're going to offer any of the employees equity, they should have to sign something saying that they're going to work at the company for X amount of years. Marcus is not pleased with this. He says that the whole point of this idea is to give these people ownership in a company that needs them. The company needs them. And Marcus is like, if you don't want to do that, And luckily, Marcus threatening not to invest has made Mike have a change of heart, and they end up making the deal with Marcus.
And you understand that with that check, I'm 100% in charge.
Yes.
Of everything.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then we have, I know I've said I have a lot of favorite parts of this episode, but I personally think this is the top tier part of this episode, which is where Marcus and the owners go to the employees and talk about the deal they've made. And also, Marcus just says whatever he wants in front of all their employees, and I live for it. I love transparency. I love it. The best part has to be when Marcus is telling Josh that they're going to pay him back.
Out of everybody in this room, including them, you've written the biggest check in the room. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
And you work here and you don't get paid.
The only thing I don't understand about this deal is Marcus makes it Josh, Sandy, I think is her name, and Chris. He gives it to Josh because of him investing and then working here for free. And then Sandy and Chris get it because they're department heads. But I'm kind of surprised that they talked about earlier in the episode, the lady who does the staining has been there like forever. And she's like their master stainer and all this. It's like, maybe her? Maybe her? I feel like when I saw her face, I felt some like, why not me? I might just be projecting, but I'm just saying, I thought that was an odd choice, but we're pushing past it.
It's been a week since I shook hands with Mike and Nikki, and I've arranged for them to meet me in Los Angeles. All I've told them is that we're going to do some market research. So I'm friends with this guy by the name of Rob Deerdeck. Does that ring a bell to you?
Oh, yeah. Mike Maloney, nice to meet you. Yeah.
What's happening, my man?
Appreciate you, man. How you doing, man? I would have never thought the day you show up in my office with a skateboard.
Truly so random. I feel like there were so many random people who ended up on this show, and I wonder how much Marcus and Rob actually know each other. I think it's cute though to be like, have a little friendship bit, like how fun. Then they get to have a little sit down business meeting with Rob where they tell him a little bit about their business and pick his brain, and they start to get into the fact that their age demographic is older than the normal market, that they're in the young professional to retiree age range.
But do you just want to not do well?
We then have Rob pretty much echo everything that Marcus has already said, saying that they should lower the price since the main age demographic buying these sort of things is younger. He pretty much says that they're just like making up their own market.
It's $329 retail for the complete.
That's pretty brutal, man.
He talks about how their main competitor's premium board is somewhere around $279. So this is quite a big stretch. And ultimately, Rob pretty much agrees with everything Marcus has said. He says the boards are beautiful and great quality, but they do need to work on making smaller boards and less expensive boards if they want to generate more sales.
I'm glad that Rob liked the board and he set Mike straight. We need to target the young skateboarders that actually buy these products, not the rich 50-year-old skateboarders Mike made up in his head.
Truly, Marcus Lemonis would make a great housewife. He's so nice and professional face to face, and then he gives these brutal interviews, and I love it for him. I'm here for it. But of course, they cannot leave the fantasy factory without having Rob try out the product.
Okay. Stay with it.
There you
Stay
go.
with it. Yes! Yes! See, there you go.
I'm not even gonna lie, watching this warmed my heart because I loved Fantasy Factory. I was a big MTV kid. If it was on MTV in the late 2000s, early 2010s, there's a high probability that I watched it, and I loved Fantasy Factory, so this is a great crossover for me personally. I feel like if I asked somebody to take a shot for any time I'm like, I love this part, this is my favorite part, I'd be wishing upon someone death. So I'm not going to say that, but I am fully aware of how much I've said this, but I cannot help it. I truly forgot how much I loved this show. This is going to happen again. As long as I don't have too much struggles uploading this, knock on wood, anywhere, this is happening again. This show is fantastic. Even if I don't make a video, I'm going to be rewatching some old episodes pronto. We are now in yet another of my favorite parts, which is where we really start to break down the cost. This is another thing that I would love if Shark Tank was able to do. I get why they don't, again, because they're doing so many different businesses, and some of them are more complicated, but now we are going to break down the actual costs of the longboard itself. Let's go. So to start off, he talks to the main group about what they think realistically the board should actually sell for to get it to actually move in the market. And they come to a consensus of $199, which is a savings of $130. Or if they had moved it up to $349, it'd be a savings of $150. Wild to think about. Another great thing with this show is there's so many fun graphics explaining different points of business, whether it be costing, all that different stuff. Again, something I wish Shark Tank did, more teaching about these different things. I feel like they try to, but again, I feel like it's probably harder. It's a different show. I shouldn't be comparing them. Apples and oranges. But I am one of those people who wants to know all the little details. I'm so nosy. This leads us into talking about how we got to this price point to start with. And Marcus teaches us that what Mike has done is called cost plus marketing. That's where you add up the total costs to make the product, material, labor, all that. Then from there, you decide what you want your margin to be, and that's how you come up with the price for your product. Instead, he says what Mike should be doing is called market minus strategy. This is where you see how much the market is selling this sort of product for, and you aim to make your product slightly below it, aka undercutting the competition. Marcus lays out to them that if they want this product to be at $199 and to have a healthy margin of 50%, they need to get the cost to $100. Now it's time to break down the product. And during this part, what Marcus is really doing is he's figuring out how exactly they can save money on all the different components by ordering more of each of the product. For example, he takes the wheels. Right now, it costs them $27.92 to get the wheels. He asks what they could get it down to if they upped their order, and they say realistically it could be $11.17. And they go through each of the different items that it takes to make the longboard until they get down to the final cost. They go through the wheels, wood, sealer, and trucks. Then they add in the labor because they don't really talk about ever lowering that cost. Maybe they do. I can't say never. I haven't watched the show in forever. This time, though, they don't talk about lowering the labor cost, and voila, magically, it ends up being $100 if they can, hit these order amounts for all these different materials. That would ultimately lower their cost and make it so they could sell the board at a lower price point and hopefully get more people to actually buy the board. Marcus pulls Mike aside because he, for one, is just not understanding how Mike didn't see that A, his longboards were way above the market value for longboards, and then B, the fact that he needed to try to be lowering the cost of these to be in that market range. And his answer is, I don't know. I don't know. He says he's been learning on the job. I can't. I don't know. This might just be the kind of person I am, but you would just think you would look around and see what other longboards are, right? And I feel like there's no way he didn't know. There's no way that he didn't know that those other longboards were significantly cheaper and that he should probably at least be hitting in that ballpark. He is just being I guess purposely dense about it, because I don't even think that's it. That might be wrong. I'm searching for the word and it's not getting there. I think arrogant feels wrong too, but he feels like this is the price they are. This is what people should pay. And that's just not the way anything works. I get it, but I just feel like it's common sense to know that that's not how things work, right? Am I wrong? Am I being wild right now? Please let me know in the comments. And obviously, it is a huge red flag to Marcus that these thoughts and ideas never occurred to Mike, and that he seems just complacent with it. I should have watched farther ahead. Complacent, I think, is the word that I was searching for in that other clip. I think that's what I was going for. Marcus then goes back to talking about the shorter board, talking about if they use the same trucks and wheels and all of that, they can add those and continue to boost sales. And Mike just seems so uninterested in this concept. And it's like, my guy, wake up. We got to be doing something. That's my big problem on these shows, is when these people bring Marcus or Gordon or whoever in and are just like, nah, I don't know. Nah, I don't know. I'd almost rather them be actively aggressive with them and be like, no, this is my business, than just being like, I don't know. It's just do you care? Why are we here? Why are we here? Okay, anyway, back to the show. It's then time to go back to a problem we touched on toward the beginning of the episode, which is the fact that their lease wasn't renewed, so they need somewhere quickly to move into. And Marcus has been looking around, and he's found a place he wants to bring them to check it out, to see if they like it as much as he did. So they go to check out the space. Marcus's big pluses about it are the neighborhood it's in. It's got breweries and other places that are hip and upcoming like that in the area. And he talks about how since the space is so much bigger than the space they're currently in, they could even have a little retail store in the front that people could come check out. And that's his big pluses for the space. Also, it's a place they can be. That's a big plus, And very clearly, Mike does not like it.
Well, obviously, we need compressed air. I don't see any lines existing that would accommodate that. Are we going to be interrupted by residents that move into these buildings for noise or for odor or for traffic with the equipment that we're planning on getting? I mean, we couldn't even get our press in here right now.
He has a laundry list of things he doesn't like about the building, and that kind of puts the end to that for now. The other thing about this show is it's not consecutive. It's not like Marcus is there for a week straight. I feel like that's the big differentiating factor between it and Kitchen Nightmares and Bar Rescue. His stuff will go over weeks, maybe even months sometimes. And that's a little more interesting to see what kind of happens farther over time. That's another favorite part for me. I say all that to say, we have now skipped ahead in time to a week later, and Marcus has come back to the business to start working on the new iteration of the longboard, but before he can go inside, he's stopped by Josh. And I love how these shows will commit to a bit, with Marcus being like, oh, I'm stopped by Josh before I can go in, and not that this was planned and all that. Oh, the camera just happened to be in the perfect position for me to run into Josh. I love a commitment to a bit. Now, I feel like it's my duty to point out that Josh is wearing the exact same outfit he was wearing at the very beginning of the episode. And I'm just saying, I don't think that this is a continuity thing. I believe that Josh is like me and wears the same things all the time. Like, honestly, if you caught me a week from right now, there's a strong possibility, depending on the weather, I could be wearing this again. This also could just be like his work outfit, like the thing he always wears at work. But I felt like I still needed to point it out because if I'm showing any clips of him, I feel like somebody will see that. So I'm just saying. So Marcus asks Josh if him and his wife are excited about the new deal with him getting the 5% equity. And Josh says that they were excited. Marcus obviously tunes into that word were. And Josh informs us that Mike is wanting to renegotiate the deal that he has already made with Marcus, which Marcus does not like. I'll just tell y'all that now. He is not about that.
What was the point of the handshake then?
On top of that, we find out that some words of some sort were exchanged, and Chris, one of the 3 main people that Marcus said they need, has decided that he wants to quit. He put in his 2 weeks, and he is not even there anymore. Marcus's last question for Josh is, has Mike been there from opening to close every day, working? And Josh says in the short time that he's been there that that's never been a thing. Marcus obviously wonders if this frustrates everybody, and Josh says that might be one of the things that was frustrating Chris, and that's where they leave it, and it's time for Marcus to go meet with the 2 owners.
Chris decided that he wanted to move on. It was unfortunate, but this is not a complex operation.
I wonder if this attitude is what has given a lot of employee turnover. I'm not saying it is, but I'm not saying it's not. Then it's time for Marcus to confront Mike on the fact that he's wanting to change the deal. And I feel like it's not going to surprise anybody that the big thing that Mike is wanting to change is how much equity is going to the employees, because of course that's what he doesn't like about the deal. And on top of that, he doesn't want to use any of the money to buy Josh out.
He thinks he's getting a raw deal because I'm trying to do right by the people that do all the work and make this place go. If it wasn't for them, I may walk out that door and never look back.
Mike explains that the reason they want to do 10% for the employees is because Chris has left. So Josh and Sandy would still get their 5%, but the 5% that Chris would get would just go away. But Marcus isn't about that. His counter offer to them is now his equity is going to go up to 35%, which is 10% more, not just the 5% that went away because Chris is gone.
Instead of 5, you're adding another 10.
Yeah, because I want more of it then. I have licensing deals lined up already, and I have distribution lined up, and I'm not working for free.
And after the little bit of arm twisting from Marcus, Mike decides that maybe it's okay if the employees retain 15%. So I don't know how that's going to be allotted out yet. Hopefully we'll find out. I don't know if the 2 that are still left standing are just going to get more. They're going to even it out. Who knows? We'll find out, I'm sure. Now we can actually get to the real reason that Marcus is there, which is to talk about them working on a shorter version of their board. We meet our new head of production who's replacing Chris. That is Dave, and we find out yet another person has quit, Nate, who I think worked doing fabrication or something like that. I'm not exactly 100% sure. Sorry to Nate.
Seriously, or you guys just messing with me?
No, it's serious.
This makes Marcus nervous for 2 different reasons. One, having 2 employees leave in a very short amount of time, like within 2-ish weeks, is alarming in and of itself. But then the fact that Mike doesn't seem very bothered or fazed by this is another level of concerning. But it's time to get back into the boards. So Marcus's idea is instead of just doing the one long standard 44-inch board that they're known for, they should offer 2 more sizes, a 34-inch and then a youth board at 28 inches. So their flagship one, the 44-inch one, will cost them $100 to make and retail for $199. The medium board is $75 to make and retails for $149, and the youth board's going to be $60 to make and retail for $100, giving them a nice variety of different options and price points. And now it's time for them to make some prototypes of the new different board options.
Look at the difference in size. It's a big difference.
Let's give her a whirl. There you go.
To make the prototype was fun in itself, but to ride something that you're a part of making is even more fun.
It is then the next morning where they are there to put the finishing touches on the board, and Marcus finds out that Mike is nowhere to be found. Apparently he had some sort of breakfast meeting, and he is not there at their agreed upon time.
Josh, how come Mike is never here?
And Josh is so good. I go back to my point from earlier that I hope he is saved and doing a lot better now. He's like, well, I'm hoping Mike is out there, making contacts, so we can sell more boards and all that, completely giving him the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, what is this breakfast meeting? This is a lie. Lies. Don't believe this. Part of what makes this so frustrating to Marcus is the fact that Mike was pushing back on the employee equity when they're the ones that are always there, and it seems like Mike is kind of spotty at best. And Mike's response is to be like, hey, listen. I have a production manager. That's why he's here. If I'm in here, then people are going to be confused about who the boss is. And Marcus is like, I'm not asking you to come in here and do his job. I'm just asking you to be here and do your job. And it's especially because they are specifically working on a new project right now, why wouldn't you be there? I mean, I get it. Everybody has to have a day off, things like that. But while you are working on this specific project with Marcus, you need to be there. You at least need to pretend. Somebody's going to tell on you. And Marcus ponders aloud, wondering if this philosophy of how Mike acts and how Mike works might be why employee retention is so low. Just a thought that he throws out there for Mike to maybe think about. And then Marcus has a little secret meeting with Nate, the employee who just recently left. That's not Chris, the head of department. He wants to explain why he decided to leave, and pretty much his main reason for leaving was them bringing in Dave. He didn't like the fact that they just kind of brought him in when all of them have been working there for a while, and probably somebody within should have been promoted. They also apparently didn't tell him until the day before this man just kind of showed up and became the head of their department out of the blue. And all of that just made him decide he didn't want to work there anymore. He was also really close with Chris and doesn't even understand what led up to making him decide to quit.
Do you think that ultimately Mike just ran Chris off?
Maybe.
That ending reminded me so much of Gordon Ramsay. He's always like, damn. Whenever something happens that's upsetting, it's so good. Marcus then goes in to tell the owners that he just finished talking to Nate. He tells them about Nate being upset because he thought he was going to get more responsibilities. And Mike is like, well, I mean, I told everybody we were going to need to pitch in more and whatever. And Marcus goes back to, once again, his main point of how concerning it is that they've turned over so many employees, considering how few employees they already have and how young the business is. And Mike's answer to this is that the problem is the leadership on the shop floor.
But that's you.
And once again, Mike is like, no. That is the manager's fault. That's their fault. So Chris, everybody I've hired, it's their fault. And his wife is just back there like, no. And she speaks up and is like, you need to be here. You need to be the leader. It's great. I'm like, yes, you go, girl. You do it. And Mike is like, but if I have to be here all the time, then I can't be out in the community, seeing our customers, engaging with people who want to buy our product. And Marcus is like, yeah, but the things you're doing are things like speaking at luncheons, and that's not selling longboards. You need to focus on selling longboards, making money. And my man has any excuse not to be there. And honestly, I mean, I give him credit for that. He's like, what if somebody needs vinyls and decals? I'm the only one who knows how to cut them, and I can't do it here. The printer's at our house. And Marcus is like, number one, you shouldn't be the only one who knows how to do that. You should teach somebody else. And then number two, bring the printer here. What does this man think? And I get it's probably not a little printer, but there's gotta be room somewhere for a vinyl decal cutting printer. I'm sure of it. I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. And Marcus lays down the law. He's like, listen, your wife, all your employees, everyone thinks you need to be here more than you're here. So you need to figure out if you're gonna get on board or if we have to just completely restructure this business where you're not here. That's it. Those are your options. Goodbye. This time, it's been 2 weeks since Marcus has been away, and he has returned this time for them to finalize a location for them to move into. Because again, this is a pressing issue. They don't have anywhere to be soon. And when Marcus walks in, number one, there's like barely anybody working in there. And then number two, he says he hardly recognizes anybody. So awesome. Doing great. Glad nothing's changed.
Where is everybody?
Well, we've had nearly 100% turnover in staff in the last month.
And that is just a wild concept to have. I'm sure the show puts more pressure on people that makes them, you know, if they were already about to quit, I'm sure being on a TV show that scrutinizes everything like this probably aids in that process. But to have almost 100% turnover in a month is a wild thing to think about. What do you mean? Like,
It's been 5 weeks since I've known this company, and almost every single employee that was here when I started is gone. That's not a good sign.
Marcus suggests that they should get everybody who's quit in the last month, round them up, and actually listen to the reasons why they quit, so hopefully they can learn from this and maybe stop having everybody quit every couple months. This, of course, thrills Mike. He always wants to learn and grow from his employees. This is, he almost tears up with happiness. I'm just kidding. Obviously, he hates this. His face when Marcus says it is just like he's so unhappy. This meeting happens, though. And first we have Tracy, who is our main stainer person, and she had quit citing health reasons. That's all they said earlier. And she explains that what she's talking about is that the air filtration system in there is hanging on by a thread, and she has brought it up to them being like, hey, this is really bad for our health, and they just haven't done anything about it, and that is her reason for quitting. To make it worse, she also tells us that they apparently were talking bad about her to other employees, saying things like she was never there, or like somebody could replace her, things like that, which, wild. You can't say that to your other employees. Like, they're gonna tell if you're on TV or not. Like, this sounds so funny. I'm so glad this is the episode I got. Then it's time for Chris to talk about why he left, and he starts out being like, all of this, and really drills down on the fact that he had heard Mike making really snide comments about all the other employees, and especially about Josh, who, again, volunteers his time. He works at this place for free. He paid to work there. I'm never gonna get over that. Then we have Josh, who tells us Mike came to him after the deal with Marcus, being like, yeah, what Marcus offered you was great, but it's not gonna happen under my watch. So, which obviously upset Josh. And then Josh, who again works for free, went to Mike and proposed working full-time, getting an actual paycheck for $15 an hour. Mike doesn't want to hire him. He wants to continue to use him as a volunteer. And, that would make me quit too. So luckily, Josh makes a decision to quit. So I'm going to be really real. I didn't realize there were two Chris's in this operation. So when that first guy, Chris was with a K, was talking, I was sitting here thinking, wow, that is not the guy that I thought was the shop manager guy. I thought it was somebody else, but I mean, his name is Chris, so I guess it's him. But then I find out that there's just two Chris's, and the guy that I thought was the shop manager is also here. He is Chris with a C, and it is now his time to talk about his grievances. And pretty much Chris with the C just points out that Mike himself has said what he really needs is a stable team, but obviously from the room they're in, it's not happening. And so he questions Mike about what he's going to do to change his tactics moving forward. And Marcus tells Mike that he has a problem with honoring his word to people. He says he broke his promise with Josh about the equity, and with Tracy about the air filters, and even with Marcus on their own offer and deal because he was trying to change it all the time. And that's something that's a huge red flag for Marcus.
I mean, I hate to say this to you, but I don't feel like $1 of my money is safe here because I don't know what I'm going to find the next time I come.
Ultimately, Mike has broken Marcus's trust too many times, and Marcus chooses not to invest in his business. As I said earlier in the video, Marcus's big things are people, product, and process, and with people, he feels like you need a good and stable team to have a good business, which is true, and because that fundamental piece is missing in this business, he didn't feel comfortable leaving his money there, and that is what made him dissolve the deal. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of The Prophet Season 3, Episode 15. Obviously, since this episode aired a while ago, I had to see what the updates were and bring them to y'all. According to their Instagram, they permanently closed on December 1st of 2019, and then according to what I was seeing in some different articles, it looks like they continued to keep their price at $329 and never made any other sizes. So who's to say why it closed? But that's where it stands today. Kota is no longer with us. Who knows if the Prophet could have saved it? I don't know. While I was looking around, I was reading through the Wikipedia page, and I happened to notice that this episode was the lowest viewed episode of that season. And I just think that's so funny that I would get the lowest viewed episode just randomly in the season. Like, of course, I don't know if it was because of the time it aired or the day. Maybe something was going on. Maybe it was a holiday. I don't know. I just thought that was a funny little tidbit to throw in here. If you watch my videos, it's probably not surprising that I also dug around on Reddit a little trying to find anything I could find. And all I found was like a little post of somebody posting in the longboarding subreddit saying that they liked their Kota boards. There were some other people also saying that they liked it. One person talking about the price. And, you know, that was all I could really find. I always love trying to find a little something, but nothing really interesting out there today. And that brings us to the conclusion of us looking back at CNBC's The Prophet. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it. And if you like talking things reality TV, maybe give me a follow. Check out some of my other videos. Have you seen The Prophet? Were you watching it when it aired? Have you gone back and watched some episodes? Have you been to any of the businesses that have been on The Prophet? I would love to know all that and even more in the comments below. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one. During the course of filming that video, I found out that the baseball park I like to go to took away the nacho stand that I like to eat at. If you can figure out when that happened in the filming process, if you can see the shift in my soul, I'll give you, I don't know, a million air hugs. I don't even know if I'll be exactly able to determine it. Maybe with the metadata I can see the time, but yeah, I'm deeply hurt. I don't know how I'll go on.